To set the context to the session, I would encourage you to go ahead and identify what do the following have in common? A clay model of a car, a scaled down building model, an app wireframe, a hardware assembly using breadboard. What do they have in common? Well, all of them are prototypes. They are nothing but a visual representation of the actual product or service that you have envisioned in your mind.
Welcome, fellow innovators. Today, let's unravel the mysteries behind two essential concepts: prototypes and minimum viable products, MVPs. Why do we need them, and how do they differ? Let's dive in. You've got a groundbreaking idea. A vision that could reshape consumer experiences or industries. But how do you bring it to life? Enter prototypes and MVPs. These act as your compass, ensuring you don't stray down the wrong path of product development. Prototypes and MVPs prevent startups from investing significant time and resources in a product that might not meet the customer's needs. Prototypes are your early sketches, the rough drafts of your vision. They help you visualize and refine your concept before investing too much time or resources. MVPs, on the other hand, are the first functional versions of your product. They're the lean, mean machines designed to test your core assumptions and gather crucial user feedback. Prototypes can take various shapes, from quick sketches, whiteboard designs, and digital wireframes to physical models. They're like the first strokes on an artist's canvas, helping you validate your ideas in the early stages. MVPs, however, go beyond sketches. They're the tangible results of your initial vision, basic app screens, functional models, or even a simplified version of your service. Pilot product, or simply pilot. Think of prototypes as the stepping stones toward your MVP. They evolve, transform, and get more refined with each iteration until you're ready to launch your minimum viable product. The true power lies in testing. MVPs allow you to put your product in the hands of real users, gaining invaluable insights to shape the final masterpiece. Iteration is key. Prototypes help you fine-tune your vision, while MVPs let you test and improve your product based on real user experiences. But here's the secret sauce: the quality and breadth of your conversations with real customers. This is the heartbeat of successful prototypes and MVPs. Good prototypes and MVPs depend on your ability to understand your customers deeply. Engage in conversations, ask questions, and listen actively. What are their pains? What are their needs? The more you know, the more targeted and effective your prototypes and MVPs become. So, whether you're sketching your first idea or testing your MVP in the market, remember, customer needs are the first priority.
In short, a prototype is a preliminary version or a model of a product, service, or process. Well, now you know what is prototyping. Let's discuss what is fidelity in prototype. Fidelity refers to the degree of accuracy or similarity of a prototype to the final product or service. Let's take some examples. A low fidelity prototype can be a simple sketch that you do it on a paper to showcase what you have envisioned in a product or service. A medium fidelity prototype, on the other end, is something that you have created, usually digitally, with the help of some simple digital tools to showcase an app wireframe or an overall layout of a service or a product. Finally, a high fidelity prototype is a detailed representation built with some professional tools so that it will have a close enough representation of the final product or service that you have envisioned. Well, now we understand what is a prototype, what is the fidelity in prototype, why should we develop a prototype? Well, there are many reasons. Let's discuss about what prototypes help us in. Well, prototypes basically help us in easy detection of missing functionality. It is possible that when you envision a product or service or a process in your mind, there is always a possibility of missing some key functionality. Prototypes also help us in getting clarity in usability, look and feel of the product or service. For the entire team to align with the requirement of the product or service, prototype development can play a key role in it. Prototype development also helps us in understanding the key needs of a customer. When you build something with your hand, you're able to envision how the customer is going to interact with it. Prototypes also help us in reducing a lot of unnecessary rework. But at the same time, prototypes can take time. It is time-consuming process. When you build things with hand, with the team involved, it can take a lot of time. At the same time, prototypes can be expensive. Your goal should be to develop a prototype that is as inexpensive as possible in the least possible time as possible. Let us discuss some different types of prototypes. The basic type of a prototype that you can develop is a paper prototype. Even as a classroom exercise, you can develop a physical prototype using paper cutouts to visually represent what your product or service should look like. You can also create a wireframe prototype. This can be done using some simple digital tool to showcase interface elements and interactive features similar to the final solution. You can also create some device mockup using 3D printer that may be available in your institution to create a product that has core functionality of the actual product envisioned. And another type of prototype is using role plays and simulations, especially made for stakeholders to experience your service prototypes. Another type of prototype can be developed using storyboards and scenarios, where a user's journey can be visualized, capturing key steps and interactions with the help of a storyboard.
Hey there, my name is Mallory and I'm the designer advocate here at Figma. Today, I'm excited to show you an end-to-end overview of how you and your teams can use FigJam, Figma, and DevMode throughout the entire product design and development process. Let's get started.
Figma lives in the cloud. All your files are stored here. There are no outdated offline versions, so you can access or share links with team members via your browser or by using our desktop app. In Figma Enterprise, all the work throughout your entire organization is centralized, offering complete control over discoverability, access, and permissions through workspaces, teams, and projects. There is a hierarchy within the file browser, so let's start with workspaces. Workspaces represent the highest level of content organization. These often represent different products, business units, or brands. Within workspaces, you will find teams, which allows you to organize work streams such as different feature areas, platforms, and space for your libraries. You have full control over their permissions and visibility. Once inside a team, there's an additional layer available called projects. You can consider these as subfolders meant to group work together, like your Figma and FigJam files related to a specific feature. When we open a project, you will encounter your Figma and FigJam files, which is where the detailed design and collaborative work takes place.
Now, let's jump into the file level and open up FigJam, where lots of the ideation and planning happens. FigJam is an approachable collaborative canvas that is helpful during any point in a project where you need a visual space to develop your ideas. It's helpful for facilitating brainstorms, planning, diagramming, or simply bringing your teammates together to connect. Whether you're a project manager, an engineer, designer, content writer, FigJam is going to help you push your ideas forward and collaborate more effectively. Let's jump into a few examples.
The product team at World Peace has been jamming on this checkout experience. In this file, they have been aligning on strategy, reviewing product designs and direction, and delving into the details around various user flows and diagrams. In the past, it has been difficult for teams to collaborate effectively with one another due to misalignment or lack of connection. FigJam creates intentional space for just that. In this example, we can see the team started with a warm-up session. Here we have interactive widgets to spark conversation and encourage play, and the ability to see everyone's cursors in the file brings energy to any meeting that has once struggled with feeling stagnant. Next, we move into the brainstorming session. Here the team is utilizing stickies, stamps, and annotation tools to capture their best ideas. To keep our jam session on track, we can also set a timer. This team has started going wide with their ideas, but ultimately we want to hone in on the most promising ones to pursue. For this, a voting session can be run right within the file, giving everyone the opportunity to weigh in. From here, we can move on to defining action items. Maybe some of these action items can be paired with Jira, Asana, or GitHub tickets, integrating our tools together seamlessly so our product teams can push these ideas forward and work them into the roadmap. Teams often gather in FigJam to diagram and map out processes or flows a user might take through their product. Using shapes and responsive connectors, we have the opportunity to map out complex ideas and iterate on them together. These diagrams can serve as helpful artifacts to steer the later phases of the design process. Once we find ways of jamming that work for our team, we can become even more consistent and efficient by creating reusable templates. Within our template picker, you will find hundreds of theme templates to get you started, but you can also create your own and share it across the organization for collaborators to use.
As you can see, FigJam simplifies the process of bringing entire product teams together to collaborate far more effectively than other static solutions. With FigJam, we explored how we can expedite team alignment, collaborate more effectively, and make better decisions. Now, let's go over to Figma and see how our team can build designs based on that brainstorming session.
Teams around the world use Figma to design digital products, web apps, and more. Let's check out some of the tools that help teams build better products together using Figma. Panning around the canvas, we can see lots of work in progress, from rough ideas to potential design explorations. Along with essential tools for adding frames and creating vectors, Figma helps teams move through this part of the process faster and more consistently by enabling them to establish up-to-date libraries of reusable components, variables, and styles. With these asset libraries, designers and other collaborators can use these building blocks to quickly mock up screens using things that already exist and are used by other teams within the organization. These components can be set up to include variants, properties, and variables that make them easy to customize for each context, and also align to code to streamline the development process later. In this checkout flow, we were able to reuse and build out screens almost entirely from components, with total flexibility to override properties and to swap out imagery or text. Designers also need to consider how this design will look on various devices or screen sizes, and what that screen will look like in other modes, such as light or dark. Tools in Figma, like auto layout and constraints, not only help you make designs more responsive and closer to implementation, but also more flexible for collaborating cross-functionally. For example, it might empower writers to jump in and edit copy on their own without having to worry about making design adjustments. And perhaps the product manager wants to make some suggestions to a feature being worked on. With responsible components, they can feel empowered to drag and drop and quickly contribute at any stage of the product development process. In just a few moments, we've seen how Figma helps siloed teams break down walls and build together. From here, we could go ahead and work with development to build the real thing. But what if some of our design decisions are confusing to users, or our assumptions are wrong? Building prototypes in Figma can help you mitigate those risks by making it easy for you to validate and get feedback on your designs before you move to development.
The best experiences are built through testing and iteration. And what better way to do so than to create interactive, no-code prototypes that feel real and are quick to create. With prototyping, we can test our ideas in a low-cost way and share with stakeholders all within Figma.
It's time to prototype our checkout screens. To create a working flow, we can simply drag out connectors between screens and components to represent our core interactions, like clicking on a button or transitioning to another screen. Just by adding these connectors, we already have a working flow that gives us a feel for the experience. Depending on the fidelity we are going for, we could also take it a step further and utilize advanced prototyping features such as Smart Animate, videos, variables with conditional logic, and more. For each connector in our prototype, we can define specifics about the interaction to represent navigation, scrolling behaviors, opening links, or even adding an overlay. Within these, we can further fine-tune timing and animation, which can elevate the work and create smoother transitions. We can even preview our prototype within the editor without having to open another tab or tool. This allows us to work faster and see updates to the prototype in real time. After connecting the whole flow, we're now ready to share our prototype with research. It's great that we can build our prototypes within the editor, but sharing this out can be a messy and distracting space for the reviewer. In this case, we can utilize presentation mode to send our flow in a focused, clean space. Here, you will find your designs isolated and mocked up in device frames to make the experience feel authentic. These also include their own links, so you can set link permission to view prototype only. And like mentioned earlier, this will separate your presentation or research material from your iterative design work. Within here, feedback can also be left as comments, and these are synchronized in real time within the editor, making it easy to gather and act on feedback. Having iterative and advanced prototyping capabilities right alongside our designs allows us to gather feedback faster, gain alignment, and prepare our work to be handed over for development. We've explored our design ideas, tested them, and received feedback to make quick improvements. Now that we feel ready to move forward with implementation, we can mark our screens as ready for development and bring in those developers.
Let's take a look at how our developers could collaborate in Figma using Dev Mode.
Dev Mode is like a browser inspector for your design file, mirroring an experience where developers feel at home that improves collaboration and streamlines the handoff process. As we saw earlier, any work marked ready for development will become much more discoverable, so developers can quickly find just the work that is ready to be implemented. Simply hover and click objects to get details like measurements, specs, and styling, all within a safe space that won't impact the design file. You can even see your spacing, sizing, and color variables here instead of just relying on raw hex codes and pixel values. Any image assets like icons are easily exportable to a variety of formats like SVG or PNG.